Alrighty, so today we're going to do a follow-up video in terms of talk about all the signings that has happened in the past 24 hours. And like I said yesterday, even though I talked about a lot of signings that happened in the secondary transfer window deadline day, I have a feeling that wasn't going to be it. I had a feeling that there was going to be more confirmed signings, and especially there were a lot of rumors that was talked about yesterday that I didn't talk about in the video because I was only talking about confirmed signing. I had a feeling there's going to be more confirmed signing today, and hence that exactly is the case. In fact, probably more signings that I get to talk about in this video than I did yesterday, and some big signings too that we're definitely going to get into. But first of all, we're going to talk about RSL signing Costa Rican international defender Brian Oviedo from FC Copenhagen. And overall, I think this is a good signing for RSL because he does provide a good veteran presence in terms of the back four. And he's also a guy that, from what I heard, he is definitely a regular starter for the Costa Rican team, and especially play for a numerous team in Europe, not just with a well-known team like FC Copenhagen, but he also was with Sunderland, though, you know, this was back when Sunderland was in League One rather than what we saw a couple of years when they were still in the Premier League and in the Championship. But like I said, overall, I think it's a good signing. It definitely does boost some veteran presence in terms of this very youthful backline that RSL has had. But moving on, in terms of the next news, we got the Vancouver Whitecaps waive Eric Godoy today, and I know that in this video I'll talk about mostly signings that has been confirmed, but there is a couple of teams that did waive a couple of players, and one of those teams is the Whitecaps decided to waive Eric Godoy, and it's a shame the fact that the Whitecaps had to make this move because, you know, Eric Godoy, as much as he is a very talented defender, and at times when this Whitecaps team had one of the leakiest backline in the league, Eric Godoy was literally their best defender, but unfortunately, you know, he has had a hard time in terms of staying healthy, and it feels like the Whitecaps, with the cap hit that they were paying him, it wasn't worth it for them to just kind of keep him for the cap hit, that he wasn't able to just be a player that can stay off the IR. But that being said, you know, I won't be surprised. There will be teams that is going to go after him, and especially teams that of course struggle to keep the ball into the back end. And looking at you, San Jose Earthquakes, in terms of maybe give him a chance, because again, I think he's a proven decent defender in MLS, and that, yeah, again, I won't be surprised there's going to be a team that is looking to sign him as a free agent. Now, Toronto FC have re-signed Richie Laryea on loan with Nottingham Forest, and from what I've also heard about this deal, there's been some conflicting source saying that there is an option to buy in terms of this deal, and then there are some sources that are saying that there actually is no option to buy. But either way, you know, TFC is going to get Richie Laryea back, and that, I think, it's good for TFC to bring back Richie Laryea, and especially for Richie Laryea, you know, his ambition of potentially playing for Canada in the World Cup. This will definitely give a boost with the way that, you know, I'm pretty sure he definitely we're looking to trying to get some minutes, and he definitely wasn't getting that with Nottingham Forest, and knowing the fact that they also just got promoted to the Premier League, yeah, he was going to get even less minutes than he did in the Championship. So now he's going to go back to TFC, a team that, you know, as much as it has been revitalized on the attack, and we talk about the Italian presence with Insigne and Benteke being there, but, you know, add Richie Laryea into that factor, and add another well-known player that can really be lethal on the attack, and all of a sudden you have a TFC team that is now even more scarier going for on the attack than we've seen before. So yeah, overall, I think this is a good signing, albeit even though it's only on loan, and we'll see whether or not, you know, with some sources saying that there is an option to buy, whether or not if TFC decide to bring Richie Laryea back on a permanent deal. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's not going to give up on his European dream, but, you know, we've seen before where players decide to go to Europe, get their dream move, but it didn't quite work out, and they were able to come back to MLS and really be an icon and a legend for a team. And that, in case if Laryea doesn't work out in Europe, you can always stay with TFC and can definitely create a career with the team and become a legend of the team. But the other thing that is related to this deal is that they did have to pay some general allocation money to other team, because, you know, Richie Laryea is a player that was departed for TFC, and in order to get him back, they need to be in the top of the allocation order. So in order to do that, TFC did have to pay 275,000 general allocation money to FC Dallas, or actually no, not 275, 225 K general allocation money to Dallas for the second allocation order, and then to jump to the top of the allocation order, they actually pay less. Only 125K GAM to FC Cincinnati for that top spot. So yeah, it's kind of just a quirky rule. The fact that with the allocation order, some teams they want to bring back their former player, even though they of course sold them, they still have to be at the top of the allocation order, which I feel like in the future there should be an exception into that rule, because if you're going to sell a player and that if he ever thinks about coming back to your team, whether it's for a homecoming or the fact that he didn't quite work out in Europe, there should be an exception in terms of the allocation order rule. But as of now, it doesn't seem like that's the case, and that's why TFC had to pretty much fork up to about 350,000 general allocation money in order to get the top allocation spot. Now, speaking of the top allocation spot, so I mentioned FC Cincinnati, of course, have that top allocation spot, and they decided to use it to sign Matt Miazga on a max TAM move, and hence that's why I'm wearing an FC Cincinnati jersey, because anytime when I wear a jersey in these kind of video, it means that there is definitely a big move that this team has made, and in this case for FC Cincinnati, this is definitely a big move. And for a while we have heard reports of Matt Miazga coming back to MLS, and I think for the past couple of days this was really the closest to be a reality, with the way that FC Cincinnati was really pursuing him, and the fact that they actually only got him on a max TAM move, like that's a really good deal, because with the caliber that Matt Miazga has, and the guy that he's definitely had something to prove. Now he's back to MLS and trying to maybe even get into the discussion of the national team. He's going to be motivated as soon as he arrived with Cincinnati. And especially, the other thing I will say is that this is definitely not going to be like the Jeff Cameron situation. Like, remember when Jeff Cameron, a guy that was a U.S. men's national team player that comes to FC Cincinnati, and it was kind of an interesting signing, but at the same time, it could be also a high risk, high reward signing, where if he can show that national team quality that he has a couple years ago, he could definitely be a solid defender for the Cincinnati team. And it's safe to say that that hasn't worked out. But the difference with Matt Miazga is that at least he has been able to have some good experience. And even though he of course is part of Chelsea, he was part of kind of that loan army, which I mentioned before. When you're part of the Chelsea loan army, that's a help kind of or kind of a hellhole that you of course are stuck into. So it's good to fact that Matt Miazga is now out of that hellhole and able to come back to MLS, and now could really make a big impact to the Cincinnati team, because I feel like you can definitely see that this Cincinnati team, they have the pieces going for on the attack. They just need to shore up that defense, and I think Miazga is going to be that key to shore up that defense. And maybe FC Cincinnati, who they already are a playoff contender, this might actually put them into the next level to even maybe get themselves up go up the standings in the Eastern Conference just by this move alone. Because again, I really think the only thing that's letting this team down is just the defense, and that if they can fix that defense up, this team is actually a really decent team in the Eastern Conference. Now, LAFC have traded Ismail Tajuri-Shradi to the New England Revolution for 400,000 general allocation money. So yeah, for LAFC, I think that's around the same amount that they of course paid to Charlotte FC to get Ismail Tajuri-Shradi. And when Tajuri-Shradi came to LAFC, I thought he was going to be a guy that maybe will get some minutes for this team, just like what he did with NYCFC. Because like I said, Tajuri-Shradi is a guy that I mentioned before. It was kind of unfortunate that he was with NYCFC, where that NYCFC attack is already loaded, and that even though he was just kind of more like a bench player, he could be a regular starter for any team. Which is why when Charlotte FC picked him, I thought that was a smart move. But then what was not a smart move is decided to trade him to LAFC. And for LAFC cases, I think the reason why they decided to get him is maybe this was kind of an insurance policy in case if Carlos Vela does go down with an injury, which he didn't. He was able Well, because knowing the fact that Vela hasn't been healthy in these past couple years, Tajuri Shradi would have been a good backup. But it's safe to say that Vela, he has been able to stay healthy for most of the year, and that, because of that, Tajuri Shradi has really never got the chance under Steve Cherundolo to be with this team, and that you just had a feeling that he was going to think about moving somewhere else. And I think the Revs is definitely one of those plays to do so, because like I said, I think this is a guy that it's hard to believe that he's been sitting on the bench, when I think if you look at probably players that are considered to be the best player that is sitting on the bench right now, Tajuri Shradi is definitely up to that point, because we know the talent that he had when he was with NYCFC, and I think he's going to definitely provide that talent now with the Revs, and especially for only 400,000 general allocation money, that is definitely considered a steal. Now, the New York Red Bulls is bringing back Kyle Duncan, who is now going to be actually on loan with the Red Bulls after he, of course, was transferred to the Belgian club called KB Oostende. And this reacquisition is pretty much similar to when TFC decided to get Richard Larrivee. Kyle Duncan, of course, making that European move to go to Europe. Though again, the club that he joined, it was kind of a strange one. I mean, I've talked about many times before, when MLS player decided to go to Belgian club, and especially not one of the most well-known Belgian club, yeah, they're not going to stay there for a very long time. So it's not a big surprise that this is the case now with Kyle Duncan being back with the Red Bulls. And even though he's on loan with loan with the club, I have a feeling he could be bought back for the Red Bulls, because I think this also is another move that there might have been an option to buy. And Kyle Duncan, I think he's definitely going to provide some defensive help, especially the fact that I think they definitely miss his presence, and the fact that they try to put Dylan Nealis in that spot, and yeah, it's safe to say that he hasn't really helped now in that spot, and that Kyle Duncan was just an absolute immense in that fullback position, and at times are considered one of the best fullbacks in the league. Now, moving on, in terms of the next news, we got Montreal acquiring Chinoso Ofor from the Chicago Fire in exchange for $325,000 general allocation money. Now, I think this is a move that they're thinking about the future, knowing the fact that, when you look at the depth chart for this Montreal team in terms of the number 9 position, it's still pretty good, but when you also get to they're the bottom of the depth chart, like maybe some third or fourth string forward, that's when they realize that some of these guys that they had down in the depth chart is potentially going to be leaving in the winter transfer window. So they're kind of also already thinking one step ahead by bringing Chinoso Ofor. Though, that being said, the amount that they pay for a guy that is more of a utility player in that number 9 position, yeah, that is a very, very hefty price. And, I have heard a lot of Fire fans saying that, yeah, they're kind of glad that they got rid of 04, because he was pretty useless when he got regular minutes for this Fire team, especially last season. But, like I said, we'll see whether or not if a change of scenery will help him, and especially the fact that, again, he's probably not going to be a regular starter. At best, he might be a super sub kind of impact. But that being said, when you pay $325,000 to get him like that, yeah, that's a little bit of a hefty price to make a guy that most likely is just going to be coming off the bench rather than maybe a fringe, even just a fringe starter for this team. Now, the San Jose Earthquakes have acquired La Liga defender Carlos Acappo from Cadiz, and this has been a signing that I think pretty much a lot of Quakes fans has been begging Chris Leach and this front office to make, which is they need some defensive reinforcement. And I think with the way how quiet this secondary transfer window has been for the Quakes, I wouldn't blame a lot of Quakes fans have said that it seems like the front office has clearly given up this season, and that this is going to be a lost season. Now, bringing in Carlos Acappo, a guy that he has been a regular starter for Cadiz, who almost got relegated in La Liga. And when you sign a player that was fighting for relegation, I mean, I don't know if that's a decent signing. But that being said, I said the same thing when Minnesota decided to sign Bakaye Dibassy, and how he was also a defender for a team that almost got relegated, and look at how that signing turns out for the Loons. So maybe this might be a good signing, and especially I think he's still relatively young. I think there's definitely upside in terms of that. But yeah, it is pretty clear that the Quakes desperately need some defensive reinforcement. And I heard the Quakes are also rumored to add another defender into their rim, and that all of a sudden, if they can stock all those defenders, and if they can perform well and really stop this team from leaking goals left and right, maybe just maybe there might be a bright future. I'm not saying that there'll be a playoff contender, because like I said many times, they're not going to make the playoffs this season, but there might be hope. The fact that they're building a foundation, and that, again, I also feel like, as much as I know a lot of Quakes fans are not happy the fact that they haven't really signed a lot of players, I can understand why that is the case. Like, when you don't have kind of a head coach that in this team and have decided to see who's going to be the next man in charge of this team, it's hard to just decide to sign a bunch of players and hope that of course work out. And especially, I think it's pretty clear that the Quakes will probably not stick with Alex Cavallo, with the way that Cavallo hasn't really done a good job in terms of the interim role, and that most likely he's just going to be there for the rest of the season before eventually the Quakes are going to make this big decision in this offseason to sign a head coach, and that's when they of course make the move. But at the same time, they also want to make sure that they of course sign some defenders and maybe at least have a foundation, because if you don't have a foundation, you're not going to attract a lot of well-known kind of head coaches that want to commit this project and really get this team to not be a bottom feeder every single season. Now, moving on in terms of the next news, and this was a big shocker. DC United have signed Belgian striker Christian Benteke on a DP contract, and the reason why I say this is a big shocker, this kind of came out of left field. Like, this was a move that, well, I will say that there was a rumor, I think, very late yesterday that this could potentially be a reality. I didn't think it was going to be a reality this quickly. And, Benteke, he's been a guy that I think he's been flirting to potentially come to MLS, but, I didn't think that this was going to be the time to do so. And remember during the days when he was in his prime of his career with Aston Villa, and also during his time with Liverpool, that he was like considered to be one of the best number 9 in the Premier League. Yeah, safe to say those days are kind of over. And that I also say that for DC, this feels like it's a very high risk, high reward kind of signing, because Benteke, we know that if he can rediscover that good form that he had a couple of years ago, there's no doubt that DC might have found another good number 9 in this team. But that being said, don't they already have a number 9 in Taxi Funtas, and he's a guy that has been proven to be a goal scorer. So unless if they decide to put Benteke maybe on the wing or as a second striker, this is a very interesting move. And especially, I feel like for DC, one of the issue that they have on this team, and there's actually a lot of issue, but one of the big issue that they need to figure out is that defense. Like, that defense is just simply not good enough. And the fact that they did not get a lot of reinforcement to trying to fix that defense and just keep signing striker up front, yeah, that is a very strange move. But like I said, I feel like for DC, they needed to make a big splash to get the fans some attention. And I guess maybe Benteke is a decent one. I mean, besides getting Wayne Rooney back to the team, at least Benteke is a well known name, and that, again, I just don't know if he's going to be. He's kind of almost reminds me a little bit of when Gonzalo Higuain comes to MLS, where he's a guy that used to be good, but he's now hitting on the wrong side of 30, and I wonder whether this is the same case, at least for Benteke, when he's now going to be playing for DC United. But that being said, moving on in terms of the next news, we got LAFC have signed Saint Etienne for Denis Bonita as a DP player and on a DP contract. Now, obviously, I think this is another example of LAFC just being continued to overload their attacking talent. Like, the old saying, the rich get richer. That's the case for LAFC, really, in their existence in MLS. Like, they have splashed some big cash in terms of getting some well-known players and trying to get better. Now, not always that, of course, have worked out. I mean, when you look at some of the DP signings, especially the third DP that they, of course, signed, some of them hasn't really made as big impact as we thought. And we'll see whether or not with Denis Bonita coming into this team, whether if he is going to also make a big impact in that. Again, I feel like they're just so loaded right now on the attack. They didn't need to sign another DP kind of attacker. I mean, I know that they've been rumored to do so, and especially with him now coming in, there's that big question of the fact that, well, is he there just to make this attack even stronger, and also what is Steve Cherundolo going to do with just so much option right now on that attack? Like, that attack is just, it's unfair right now with how loaded that attack is. And also I think this is also a move that maybe just makes it even much more of an urgency, the fact that, yeah, it is clearly MLS Cup or bust. Like, this is probably the most talented LAFC team we have seen, maybe even more talented than the one that we seen when they won the Supporters Shield in 2019, and that there's really no excuses for this team to not win MLS Cup, and we'll see whether they can do so. But again, do they really need to add another forward on this team? I don't think so, but I guess when you have money to burn, and when you have that spot to burn, might as well just use it and add in more fuel to what already is a very firing attack. Now, speaking of DP attacker, Minnesota United have signed Colombian forward Gabriel Garcia on a DP contract. Now, I know that there were a lot of Loons fans that was kind of freaking out about this because, when you look at the numbers that he has posted, he definitely is not worth a DP kind of contract. But one interesting thing about this deal is that it seems like this contract can actually buy down. So this is kind of one of those kind of mid-season DP signing where I think there's something to relate to how the budget is a little bit lower as we get into the middle of the season, and the TAM threshold is a little bit lower than what we see in the beginning of the season, which is why that you have some players that I think if this signing was done maybe during the winter transfer window, it wouldn't have been a DP contract. It would probably be a max TAM deal. But from what I heard is that there is a chance that they can of course buy down this DP contract, and I have a feeling they're going to do so because, like I said, the numbers that he put up, it doesn't really speak to just DP kind of quality. But that being said, one thing that I know that he is going to bring to this team that I think will definitely make this team even more lethal going for the attack is speed. I mean, this team has already have a lot of speed, with the likes of Bongi Huwane and now Mender Garcia in that wing spot. Boy, this is going to be a very, very fun team to watch going for the attack. I mean, this Loons team, I can't believe I'm saying this, but this team is fun to watch in terms of the attack. And if I would have told you that was the case maybe about 3 months ago, you would think I was just delusional and that I'm just a nutcase, because this team a couple of months ago was probably the most frustrating team and the most boring team to watch because of how frustrated they look going for on the attack. But what if 4 months have changed? Now all of a sudden this team is back to its projectile of maybe becoming an MLS Cup contender if they can sort out that defense that has been a problem in these last couple of games. Now, the New England Revolution have acquired Clement Diop from Inter Miami in exchange for $125,000 general allocation money, and this is simply a move to kind of stock up another goalkeeper in place of Georgi Petrovic, and that in case Petrovic does went down, then I think Diop is a good option, and I think Diop has been a good backup option. It's a shame that he did lose his job with Montreal, but that's kind of the life of an MLS goalkeeper. Sometimes you need to be sharp, or else somebody will take your spot, and next thing you find yourself as a third choice goalkeeper. But like I said, with this move, this seems like it's going to be the case where he's going to be just a second choice goalkeeper, and that again, in case if Petrovic does go down with injury, I think Diop can definitely step it in and definitely be a guy that New England doesn't really lose a lot of quality in terms of the goalkeeping position. But that being said, moving on into the last news in this video is also not exciting, but more like a player that's been waived. Well, the Houston Dynamo have waived Tyler Pasher, and again, this is almost similar to what I said about the Vancouver Whitecaps decided to get rid of Eric Godoy. Tyler Pasher is a guy that he did have that injury that he suffered right when he was in a very good form, and really that's when we decided to find out that who this guy really is. But then that injury, of course, course, took him out for a bit, and when he came back from that injury, he was never the same. And it's understandable why the Dynamo decided to waive him there, and that, you know, for a guy that has been usually just kind of a bench warmer for majority of this season, you knew that they were eventually going to cut him. And also, especially the fact that he actually also owns an international spot, which that's kind of weird to see, because again, there's something weird about how in MLS with the international spot rule, where, you know, Canadian players, if they sign with Canadian team, it doesn't count as an international spot. But when it comes to Canadian players signing MLS team, unless if they obtain a green card, yeah, they would count as an international spot. It's very strange that of course, is the case. But yeah, I think this is just the Dynamo trying to free up an international spot, and also still maybe free up some cap space, especially with the way that Tyler Pasher wasn't really making a big impact to this team in the first place. But that being said, that is pretty much it in terms of all the confirmed signings and players that is waived from today. And again, if there's going to be more signings that's going to be happening in the next 24 hours, expect me to make another video like this in tomorrow, even though, you know, we are going to get a lot of games that is going to be happening on Saturday. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these news? And as always, if there's any news, well, any signings that I have missed on the board here, let me know in the comments below. And also let me know in the comments below if there's any other transfer rumors that has happened, because like I said, I didn't talk about any transfer rumor because this video is specifically talk about players that has confirmed signing. But if there's any rumors that is very fascinating, let me also know in the comments section below, because I've also heard a couple of comments in the last video talk about some of these transfer rumors and of these confirmed signings. So yeah, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.